Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Wellspring. My name is Cleona Andrew, and I am part of your Sunday, September 10th, 2023 service team.
Thank you.
We have a few announcements now. Early Birds meets Sunday mornings at 9:30 via Zoom, and the link is in the weekly email and on the website. Our upcoming speakers for September today is Reverend Sandhi. Welcome and thank you. Um, September 17th will be Reverend Kamatara, and September 24th is Dr. Edward Burlbaugh. Lunch Bunch will meet this Wednesday at 11:30 at Cracker Barrel. This Wednesday, our Board of Trustees will meet via Zoom. We invite you all to participate as we do the business of our beloved Wellspring. Contact Edward to receive the Zoom coordinates. Thursday evening group meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. Well, Thursday evening group meets on Thursdays. How about that? We're continuing with our Greg Braden series called Missing Links, and we just finished series one. We finished season 1, and we're going to be starting with season 2 this coming Thursday. The September get-together is on Saturday, September 23rd at the Brannigan Cultural Center. And I guess the topic is Trinity Legacies of Nuclear Testing, A People's Perspective. With the collaboration from the Tularosa Basin Downwinders Consortium and 17 juried artists, this empowering and impactful exhibit exposes the long-term effects and ramifications of nuclear testing in New Mexico. Featured artists will shed light on the environmental injustices placed on New Mexico downwinder communities, described as persons who live downwind from a nuclear test site. The exhibit covers the period from the first use of an atomic bomb, the Trinity test in 1945, to the present day. And it's going to be from 1:30 to 4 p.m. and dinner at the Amador following. Betty Minden Luncheon will be on September 24th after the service. Salad, lunch, and drinks will be provided by the church. And lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may submit a request via our webpage or give it to Edward. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoons at 4:15 to pray with you. You may consider sitting in your own quiet space during that time. We know we are all one in spirit, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. And now, for our invocation, I'm going to lead us on a little journey inward into our hearts, and where we unite with our hearts and the collective. So before I ring the chimes, I just invite you to just focus your attention on your heart, close your eyes, and if you feel so moved, just gently place a couple of fingers in the area of your heart chakra, right in the middle. That helps us bring focus to our hearts. Let us take a couple of deep, gentle breaths into our heart. And now, as we go inward, we visualize entering our heart space. As we walk in, we see an old-fashioned radio in there with 2 dials. The dial on the left is a tuner, and it has all the different vibrations all the different emotions that we are capable of experiencing in our humanness. Let us take a second to tune in and see, what are we experiencing? What are we feeling right now? And now we reach out to that dial and we choose to tune in to the vibration of love. So slowly, let's turn that dial until we find that vibration of love. Once we're there, let's make a couple of tiny little adjustments so we are fully centered on that vibration. Feel that vibration of love flood our hearts and entire being. Let's now turn to the dial on the right, and that is a volume control. Let's slowly turn that clockwise and enhance this vibration of love. Let's make it stronger and stronger till we feel our entire body humming with love. And now let's focus on the top of our heads, on our crown, and visualize a giant antenna, a dish, that is broadcasting our vibration out. As we notice our own love that's now being broadcast from our bodies through this antenna, let's visualize all our individual dishes combining to form a big, giant, single dish that is now broadcasting our love into the world. I now invite us all to focus on the one thing that we choose to experience in our lives, or we choose to radiate out to somebody else or to the entire world. Whether it's health, whether it's wholeness, it's peace, abundance. And let's send that out on that carrier wave of love that we're already broadcasting. And now we go back to our dial on the left and turn it all the way clockwise to the max, to the vibration of gratitude. And we send out this vibration, love and gratitude simultaneously, that is holding the emotion we chose, or the experience we chose, and it's all being broadcast through this big giant antenna to our Father, Mother, God, and to the entire universe. We thank you, knowing it is done, and so it is. We now slowly come back to our bodies and open our eyes. Please stand if you are able for our song of joy.
I'll leave the bass out.
Strong.
us now repeat our vision, our mission, and our affirmation. Our vision is to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission is to support individual spiritual quests through celebration, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. And our affirmation, the presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and the day in which I live. And so it is. And we welcome Teresa for our guest music. Teresa.
Yes. Oh. The word welcome was a clue.
Oh, God.
Every moment of this service has honed. Oh, God. It's okay. All right. Yeah. Um, I hope this wasn't a big mistake. Banjos. This song is an inner child song, and I was thinking about life and death. And I thought that the most important thing for me in this time in my life is to be there, present for my inner child. And unto death, I would like to be conscious all the way through my life and be of comfort to myself as I transition, which is a strange idea maybe, but this song is about that. Angel eyes, angel eyes, won't you sail with me? Let's plot our course by the starry skies. I love your company. Angel eyes, angel eyes, we've both been so alone. Let's plot our course by the starry skies and call this boat our home. Now everything that seems so wrong somehow turned out right. I'm pretty sure we'll make the dawn if we say our prayers tonight. Angel eyes, angel eyes, it's now I understand that everywhere I searched for you, you were there holding out your hand. Now everything that seems so wrong has somehow turned out right. I'm pretty sure we'll make the dawn if we say our prayers tonight. Angel eyes, you can rest with me. And I will hold you close tonight and through eternity. I will hold you close tonight and through eternity.
For our reading today, I chose the reading for today from The Science of Mind. And it seemed appropriate. Well, I guess
I'm sure it
higher
is.
consciousness knows better. So it's called the medicine wheel. And it says, we are all born with the capacity to dream and to have vision. A power greater than you are has put you here. Everyone has a place to fill in life, and the world has need of you now. For millennia, indigenous cultures have used the medicine wheel to help foster harmony and health among a tribe or community. You enter the medicine wheel consciously, a sacred hoop marked by the 4 cardinal directions. It symbolizes a re-entering into the earth plane, with an intention to dissolve mental separation and unite heaven and earth within. Let's do the exercise together. I guess today is a day for exercises. In your mind, step immediately into the south part of the wheel. Reflect on how you cling to events from the past. Spend as much time as you need journaling about a former challenge, disappointment, or wound that still seems to weigh on you. Ask yourself if you gain anything by clinging to these events. What theme or identity would you have to untangle to feel free? Next, move into the west and notice what relationships drain your energy. How can you shift your time and involvement with anyone who doesn't feel compatible with your current vision of expansion? The aim is not to blame anyone, but to focus on the energy of preference. What prevents you from nurturing your environment with those who fuel and not drain you? The next quadrant is the north, where you review your passion. Is it possible that the things motivating your heart are different now than at other times in your life? Ask, am I honoring my evolving heart, or have I ignored a creative calling by letting it sit on a back burner? What steps do I need to take? And we conclude in the east. This is where you visualize how you'd like to live the next chapter of your life. This final quadrant works beautifully with the metaphysical interpretation of Williams Blake, The 4 Mighty Ones, which is in tomorrow's guide. Thank you. Now I welcome Reverend Sandhi. Third welcome of the morning.
Thank you, Cleona. Who knew that was her first time doing platform assisted? Didn't she do a great job? You have such poise.
I love your presence and your poise. Good morning, every single one of you. How's everybody doing? So, oh, thank you, honey. Honey pie. I love that song. Okay. Let's start with cleaning up anything from the week we've dragged in. Ernest Holmes says, don't drag the corpse. Oh, God, I have to stop rocking. I watched myself and it was sickening. So if I'm rocking, do this, okay? Stop it. Ernest Holmes said, don't drag the corpse of yesterday into today. So let's leave the corpses and just close your eyes for a brief minute and just forgive yourself for anything of the above, any little goofs you made, any judgments you made, any criticisms, any wincing or disliking or resenting. Just go poof. Let's say poof. Poof. And forgive anyone else who encroached upon your fabulous self with the wrong saying or doing or thinking the wrong thing. Shame on them. Not a reflection of us, of course. So we forgive them for reflecting what in us isn't the best and the highest. We all have the same stuff in and around and through us. The best news is that the stuffless, the presence of who we are before we were born, after the body drops, is this uncreated, unborn presence that if we breathe into it, we have instant relief. And so now we're free of the week, and we light the runway for a message that may serve you, hopefully so. And we let that be. Swaha. I like swaha. The Hindus throw rice into the little dhuni, the fire that's always burning outside a temple, and they say swaha, and that means so it is. So I just like it. I like Sanskrit because it doesn't have memories for me. I love chanting. I went to the Janmashtami Wednesday in El Paso with mostly Hindu people. So I thought, oh God, this is great. We can talk about Hinduism. Not, she knows nothing. That assumption, So Erica, my friend, it was her birthday. She wanted to go, and we hopped in a car with people we'd never met before. A Hindu couple that had an arranged marriage. They're both successful engineers, and they love their marriage. And they described the marriage ceremony, the wedding celebrations go on for almost a month. So it kind of solidifies your relationship. It's a strong vibration. Anyway, so we chanted for over 2 hours, and I was just saturated in Krishna consciousness. Krishna means the all-attractive one. And Ram means the aspect of God that is joy. So we chant Hare Krishna, Holy Krishna, and then Hare Ram, joy. And some of you know that when the bullet hit Gandhi's heart, when he was killed, he instantly said Ram, because that's where he wanted to go when he left his body. He wanted to go to the aspect of God that is joy. So that leads into my topic, which is the D word, death. So, and I was afraid to tell Teresa because, she's up and fabulous. And she said, what's your topic? I said, death. She said, oh, great. I wrote a song. It'll be perfect. It always works, doesn't it? So if you are repelled by the word death, just when I say it, just replace it with make your transition, moved on, past, whatever you want to say. I don't know anyone that has experienced more death than I have. I'm sure there are people. But I had a group of people with AIDS, and in the beginning, everyone was going to die. There was no question. Every single person was going to die. And we developed a rugged sense of humor. And this one man said, I said, well, it's good to see you here. I'm glad you're here. He goes, well, I'm not. And I said, well, why not? He was a Southerner. He says, because it's a death watch. And everyone gelled. And then we started laughing hilariously. Because it was true, they were all going to die. My job was to present maybe ideas that would ease it, throw spiritual pillows of comfort and compassion around the fear and the pain, because each man usually suffered intensely for 2 years before their body dropped, because young bodies aren't meant to die. I asked a doctor, I said, how long do you think he has? And he'd say, well, they're young men with good hearts. And it was so true. So, because our guys were spiritual. They wanted to clean their lives up and welcome God into their lives in a mighty big way. And they were just so inspiring. And 167 of them died in 4 years. These are people I embraced and hugged and knew. I visited hundreds of others. But death has been my greatest teacher and my greatest liberator. Now, I want to tell you a story. I don't usually tell my personal stories because I could go on forever. But I've been wearing this ring since 1986. And it's just a smooth band now. When a nun gave it to me, it was deeply carved and oxidized. And the carved words on the front said Jerusalem in Hebrew. And on the back was a Jerusalem cross, the even cross, with 2 olive branches on either side. And this was her wedding ring to Jesus. She was a newly liberated, maddening nun. I just couldn't stand her at first. She kept challenging me, the first time she was in church, Sammy Davis Jr. said, I could be talking to 40,000 people, and if there's one hostile husband, he gets my full attention. You know how that is? So she was glaring at me, and I thought, who do you think you are? It's like, I'm going to win you over. Well, I didn't. Then, what was worse, the next day we started Science in My 1 class, and she was in it, and I thought, oh, help me, God, shoot me now. I just, So the first thing she said was, well, I've never seen a woman minister, and I've never seen a minister swear on stage, and I've never heard anyone say what I was feeling. And she said, but I'm not here to be healed because I healed myself with Silva Mind Control. And I went to Silva Mind Control when I had cancer because I didn't want to give God any credit. I mean, she was so glad not to be a nun anymore. She went, the whole pendulum swung this way, sex, drugs, rock and roll. She was gunning for her family, the Catholic Church, and her ex-partner who was holding her children from her. And so she was radiating bullets all the time. And I loved her honesty. Other people were going, who does she, just the self-righteous indignation that lasts for a minute and then you have to forgive yourself for 4 hours later. So I kept accepting her and I started visiting her and her cancer returned. And I was this hotshot minister from La Jolla Church of Religious Science ordained by Terry Cole Whitaker in 1983. And when she quit abruptly, 40 of us lost our job in one Sunday. She announced that she was leaving. So 40 of us were cast aside. She turned right, we were thrown to the left. And Ron and I, my ex-husband and I were both ministers, and we didn't miss a paycheck because we had faith. And we'd been teaching in 5 cities in California, and LA was the most vibrant, receptive place for this great message of power and positivity and popularity and rah, rah, rah. Our bumper sticker said, prosperity, your divine right, and the S in prosperity was a $sign. So we were Dobermans for God, focused on prosperity, getting what you want right now, just the way you want it right now. And so I was this hotshot minister living in Malibu with the red Beamer and the spiked platinum hair and designer drag, and I just knew everything. And then this man said, I work at Century City Hospital. Will you come and visit a patient? I said, oh, absolutely. Well, I didn't know he had AIDS. And I'd heard of AIDS, but I thought it was just, this is awful. I thought it was low-bottom gay men that got it, not my gay friends, because they were so fabulous. I didn't know it was going to hit so hard. And I had avoided it because, the fundamentalist metaphysicians can say, there is no death, there is no disease. And so when her cancer returned, I had great compassion. I said, no problem. You could just think it away. You thought yourself sick, you can think yourself well. And I tried saying that to a few people in the hospital that were in the final stage of their life with tubes in every orifice and huge, ugly, purple sores. And I would tell them they could heal themselves. How arrogant can you get? And so I told the nun that, we would handle this cancer, absolutely. And the tumor grew and it grew. And she got very angry with me. And she said, you don't know what you're talking about. I never want to see you again. And it was heartbreaking because we'd gotten very close. In fact, one hot summer day in LA, we went to her friend's house where she'd stored her stuff in the attic. Have you been in a hot garage and gone up to the attic? I used to. It's really hot. And we were looking and looking for this box, and she found it. And she put this ring on my finger, and she said, don't take it off and keep it oxidized, you know, the black background. There's nothing to oxidize. It's smooth now. But I was just so moved, and we were that close. We called each other sisters, and she would give me the rich teaching of the Catholic Church because she'd learned so much, and I would give her the rah version of Ernest Holmes, which was Terry Cole Whitaker's interpretation. I have my own now. I think it's really important for you to interpret today for yourself. I'm just trying to give you an example of how death can be a gift, because I didn't want anything to do with death. Just nothing to do with it. I had a traumatic loss when I was 12, and I just did not want to have anything to do with it. So she kicked me out of her life, and it was after Christmas. And her tumor, she said, my tumor is the size of a Cocker Spaniel. I don't think you know what you're doing. And she said, but I want one thing. I want to read the Christmas story, your Christmas service. And we had this adorable church in Crossroads of the World in LA. It says, my office was in a dome, a tower thing with like a Hindu look. And we had a pretty small room. It was almost this big. And it was Christmas Eve service. And she said, I want to go. Well, she could barely walk. And so these guys with AIDS, full-blown AIDS, brought their van, and 4 of them carried her down to the van. And we had a bed set up in the church room. And she sat on the bed, and this beautiful man that was in his end stage held a candle. And as sick as she was, she read the Christmas story. And I'll never forget that Christmas. And our musician didn't show up, and 2 angel men, angel eyes, these really outrageously, wonderfully dressed men, said, we'll sing Oh Holy Night, and that's my favorite song. So it was just a real God Christmas. And then she kicked me out of her life, and it hurt like hell. And then Valentine's Day, I sat bolt upright, and I heard her talking to me. And I jumped in my car. I had floating Valentines on, you know, those, and the sunroof. And I'm driving out to Santa Monica to St. John's, and I get there, and she's talking to me through her coma, because I'd heard she was in her coma. And she awoke. And we loved the Jerusalem Bible. I don't know if, does anyone know the Jerusalem Bible? It's amazing. It was translated in the 60s with a whole team of spiritual people. And it has footnotes. For instance, like in the book of John, it says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. But the footnote said, he pitched his tent and dwelt among us. It's just little things like that. So we loved the Jerusalem Bible. So she came to, we became friends again, and we just kept reading the Jerusalem Bible. And then one day, she was talking to people up in the corner, and I said, are those your friends? She goes, yes. I said, what are they doing? She goes, they're welcoming me home. And I told the doctor, who was young and inexperienced, that she was talking to her friends. He panicked and cranked up the morphine, and she never gained consciousness again. It's just that ignorance of death, the ignorance of the person in the bed is the person to listen to take your cues from the person in the bed. When my father was dying, my stepsister would not let him go home to die. And he'd be crying and screaming because he wanted to die with his beloved wife. It was just crazy making for me. I said, I'm a hospice chaplain, blah, 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 blah. She finally gave in, but it was really hard because I said, you know what I learned through the years is you take your cue from the person in the bed. They're the ones that's experiencing it. And the last story I'll tell you is that, anyway, she had a beautiful death. She'd made peace with the Catholic Church. Her mother came down. She'd made peace with everyone. And that's the joy of this new thought philosophy, is that we can get over the past. We can get healed with the most obnoxious of people that were a pure reflection of who I was. I can get over anything if I'm willing to. And that's what this philosophy does, is you can be centered in the truth of your being and not flake out with the facts. Ernest Holmes says disease is a fact. It's not the truth. It's a temporary fact. The truth of you wasn't born, can't die. It's the formless from which all form comes and to which all form returns. Anything you can sense, all five if you touch your cheek, that's all five senses. And that's how we experience life. And then our thoughts decide what we think of what we're seeing, hearing, touching. Our mind interprets it. So if we interpret it from the nothingness, like this is poof, this is a temporary fact. It's going to go away. This too shall pass. So that's the glory of it. The last thing is you don't have to know what to say to anyone that's dying. My last year, I burned out with hospice work, and last year I went back to Ocean Beach, to Dog Beach, to recover from burnout, and I took a job teaching people how to visit people. And the cue is to know nothing, to know that you're not supposed to know, you can't know, and when you don't know, it leaves the way wide open for them to interpret their own experience of being in the end stage of life. That Steve, if you want to meet, the greatest book I've ever found on death is called Who Dies by Stephen Levine. He was a master, and I did 2 workshops with him. And I held on to that book. It's in shreds. It was my handbook for 3 years because I couldn't get off my learned opinion that I should know everything for these people. I should have the answer for them, because I did. I had the answer to everything. I knew why you were miserable and what you needed to do to get unmiserable. But then when these young men would say, what's going to happen to me? I would have to say, I don't know. I'm not supposed to know. It's not for me to know. It doesn't matter what I believe. Let's explore what you believe, because people with a plan have a better departure. So we developed the After Body Travel Club, and we had pamphlets for atheism, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Sikhism, all the ones that we could possibly think of, so they could just peruse different philosophies of what happens when your body drops. Bodies drop, personalities don't drop. I always say in memorials that let's establish their immortality by moving them into our heart, where they will reside as long as we're alive, and that ensures them immortality. And we get to have the joy, because consciousness doesn't die. So it boils down to having a healthy spiritual identification, that you're not your body, you're not people, places, and things. We don't have to react if we don't want to. I always say I try to move from knee-jerk robotic reaction to mindful response. So much more peaceful. I didn't want peace. I was a radical person. I like the highs and the lows, and now I love the middle way. I love the peace. I prefer peace. I fought for peace. I screamed for peace during Vietnam. And now I just accept peace. And Thich Nhat Hanh's book, it's titled Being Peace, is so beautiful. It's so, so beautiful. So, Stillness Speaks is one of my favorite handbooks by Eckhart Tolle. And he has a chapter on who you really are, because when we identify spiritually, we're free from reaction. We're free from the past. We're free from anything but the innate joy, capital J joy, the joy that's there, that can be accessed any moment we choose. Okay? So he says, by knowing yourself as the awareness in which phenomenal existence happens, you become free of dependency on phenomena and free of self-seeking in situations, places, and conditions. In other words, what happens or doesn't happen is not that important anymore. And that leads to acceptance. You know, if I'm waiting for someone and it goes on, we had to wait for over an hour to go to El Paso to the Janmashtami. And I was with Erica, and we're both in recovery, and we just practiced the principles and just went back to acceptance. This is the way it is. What can we do about it? Well, we can visit. We can celebrate your birthday. We can get to know each other better. So it was a choice. We accessed joy over when are they coming, what's going on, why don't they call, all that stuff of waiting. I don't wait anymore. In fact, in LA, I learned how to do traffic. I had to. And so when it came to a standstill, or just barely roll, I would say it's rolling chapel time, and I would light incense and put beautiful music on and just enjoy whatever was happening. Because if I fought it, I would arrive just with my hair on fire, bloody fangs, you know. Instead I go, I'm late, without an explanation, you know. I'm late. I wasn't sorry because I didn't do anything wrong. I just got in my car near LA. That's enough to ruin a day if you let it. But I just don't. I drove to LA to see my dad with a friend that had never been to LA. And we were going over the hill into Burbank, and I said, oh, God, there's no traffic. She goes, no traffic? I've never seen so many cars in my life. We're not even really moving. I said, the tires are rolling. That means there's no traffic. If they're just right, even if they're, you're fine. Okay, so we don't have to be at the effect of details if we stick with our spiritual identity. Who I am is this forever spirit. And when my body dies, spirit remains. It can't go away. It can't be ruined. My bad mood can't affect it. It knows nothing that's going on in my life. Knows nothing about it. And if I breathe in Om, and I breathe out Shanti, 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 which Om is the vibration of the universe, and Shanti is peace. If I take 3 deep breaths, breathe in Om, and out Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So let's do that. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Again. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I like the Sanskrit because there aren't any buzzwords in Sanskrit for me. I love science of mind, I love the declarations, but I really don't do much of that anymore. I just want to access the joy and see what unfolds. Just relax into the nothingness from which all this appeared and to which it will disappear. Everything's temporary. So it says what happens or doesn't happen doesn't matter anymore. Things lose their heaviness, their seriousness. A playfulness comes into your life. You recognize this world as a cosmic dance, the dance of form, no more, no less. And this is the paragraph I love. I've read it before, but I read it in the morning. When you know who you truly are, there is an abiding, alive sense of peace. You could call it joy, because that's what joy is. Vibrantly alive peace. Vibrantly alive peace is within me now. Let's say that. Vibrantly alive peace is within me now. It's not only within us, it's who we are. It's absolutely who we are when we don't let appearances get it. And I love the word appearance. I never really liked the word illusion, because when people would say, well, death is illusion, Sandy, you don't have to work with death. And I thought, come visit 20 people a day and see if you think it's an illusion. It's the suffering. And the greatest thing you can do is go right to the suffering. Go right to it. I started out taking care of kids in the play yard in a one-room country school because we played in stickers and black walnuts. Have you ever fallen on a slimy black walnut? Oh. So Jeanette and I were still friends after 68 years. We had little Red Cross bands on our arms. So I was just born to serve others. And my work with suffering has been the greatest liberator in my life. Because that nun kicked me out of her life, I had to really review. And she tried the physical immortalists, the people that say your body doesn't die. Good luck with that. I haven't seen it prove it. Okay, so vibrantly alive peace. This is the joy of being who you truly are. So we know who we are. And so I encourage us to lock into our spiritual ID, especially for tomorrow, because 9/11 is happening, and you're going to hear about death. And there are people still grieving deeply for the people they lost. I arrived 2 weeks after 9/11 to be a Red Cross chaplain in New York, and driving over the bridge and seeing the fires and the smoke, and to walk in hot ashes, and you don't know who or what you're walking on, and to see people, they still had hope, and they had pictures of their loved ones and candles, and I could feel the suffering under the rubble. And even the cadaver dogs, they'd have volunteers hide in the rubble because the cadaver dogs would lose faith because they never won. They never got to find anyone. So it was an amazing time. We got there and we went to my friend's favorite restaurant, and that man was cooking vats of food, and I chopped vegetables. don't like chopping vegetables. I use scissors. I chopped vegetables for 12 hours. And the people that showed up to help and to serve were just amazing. And walking the streets of New York afterwards to see the firefighters in their, they're like garage door openings, and them just sitting there with pictures of their buddies. And it was very quiet in New York, which isn't a quiet city. And just one more thing, things that can happen, the body isn't meant to die young. And the last family I escorted down to Ground Zero, did you ever see the two blue lights that represented the towers? Well, they were there, and the family is, grieving for their son, and then a plane drove right through the blue lights, like driving through the towers again, and they just lost it. And then then two firefighters brought out a body, and this man had marked off 29 days below the rubble. And so that's what people are remembering tomorrow. And all over the world, people will be hearing about 9/11. And today, I'm offering the opportunity of you to redefine death, to reinterpret death. And I brought leaves for you today because when leaves fall, we don't glue them back to the branch, do we? It's natural. When a wave breaks, we don't try to stop the wave. When a flower wilts, it's okay, isn't it? You cut it, it's going to die. It's going to wilt. I think wilted flowers are beautiful. So I brought you leaves. This is pure, on a day that's over 100 degrees, this is pure proof that fall is coming. And so tomorrow you might think of the people that died in 9/11 or people in your life that you're still grieving as a fallen leaf. And I plan to let mine dry and then I'll burn it so it can go back to the nothingness from which it came. So would you pass these out again, Teresa? I think they're so pretty. Those came from Klein Park. If you knew Miguel Silva, there's a huge tree dedicated to him, and it has a big bow tie in it. And so I go barefoot under the tree with the dewy grass, and I look up and I give thanks for his spirit. So we can give thanks for the people we've known that have died, gone on, made their transition. And we know that we keep them alive as we talk about them and remember them and give them credit. A friend of mine died 2 years ago yesterday, and he's the one that took me to get my beloved Bodhi from Action Program for Animals. And he was so sweet that day. He just put him right in his truck with the dish and the leash and all that stuff and came in the house. And he was just his name was Scott. And so I'm remembering him today because he facilitated. Bodhi is my rescuer. He rescues me because of that love. So, in closing, there's a Hindu, there's chapter 8 in the Bhagavad Gita, and it says, think on me at the hour of death, at the time of death, because you will lift to your ruling passion. So we can practice, we can rehearse. We can say, okay, when it's my time, I pray that I lift out of my crown chakra, my third eye, wherever you want to leave from. Just don't be thinking about a hot dog. Because you lift to your ruling passion. And that's how I explain people in the hospices that were atheist, Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, that they lifted to the vibration of, I loved what you did with the frequency. And if there's any young people watching, we used to have knobs on radios. Real knobs. And remember the magical old-time sound of the radio? It was wonderful. So thank you for that. Because we can choose our frequency today, right now. And that frequency, if you believe it's spirit and joy, and if you insist on staying there, like establish your frequency for the day, and don't let anything derail you. Just say, I don't need to stop with this. I don't need to react. I don't wish this person would just stop talking, like you're wishing for me probably right now. Anyway, also in the Bhagavad Gita, it says there's a field on which everything happens. And we are the awareness of that field. We are the consciousness of that field, that we can be a silent witness to our lives. There's a silent witness within us that is untouched by anything we concoct, any reaction, any resentment we make up, any review of the painful past, which I still do, but less and less, and I get over it more quickly and more quickly, right? So I hope that something serves you today, and I'll be praying for absolutely everyone tomorrow and celebrating the people I met that lived through it. And I also got healed with the Baptists during 9/11 because some Baptists were very cruel to us in the AIDS days. They would show up and yell and scream at us and call them sinners and all this stuff, and I didn't have a high opinion. The Baptists stayed longer than anyone. Red Cross people stayed in the Marriott. Baptists stayed in the barracks. And I took one woman back to Tribeca, and she said the Baptists cleaned every page, the ashes from every page, every shelf, every book, the hinges on the doors. They cleaned absolutely everything, and they stayed longer than anyone. So, service. It's a way out of self-centeredness. It's a way to get to spirit. And Vitura Papi, Ernest Holmes practitioner, was my spiritual mother. And she said, just see through whatever's bothering you to the truth of it. Just dissolve it back from which it came. And that, because I watched her hold this woman with gangrene before I had to do stuff. And I said, how do you do that? She goes, I just see through to the truth. And the physical doesn't matter. I could always wash my hands. So we can take anything any way we want, isn't it? True? Like I can make it up about anything. I was frustrated. I washed my pants yesterday so they'd fall out flat, and they fell down out in the yard. So I'm with a spray bottle and my hair dryer. You know, what am I going to make out of it? Nothing. Linen wrinkles, right? Eye wrinkle, linen wrinkles. It doesn't matter. Matter doesn't matter. I always say mind your matters, because if something's a matter, it means that matter matters too much. Okay, so let's close with centering in the goodness. The opportunity we have today together, right here, right now. We have an opportunity to reinterpret death, to call it whatever we want, to make it anything we want. People with a plan have a better departure. Whatever you believe is valid. And don't share it with people with opinions. Share it with people that know how to actively listen with compassion. And that's everyone here in this room today and on Zoom. I'm grateful for every single person. The beautiful energy again at Wellspring. I love it so very much. We send our love to Edward. And we appreciate Wellspring and all that it offers. It is a well of wisdom. It is a well of goodness and joy. And we came to drink deeply from this well of Wellspring today. And hopefully we are refreshed and renewed and empowered with our own interpretation of life and death. For this I give thanks. I release it completely to the universe without attachment to the outcome. And I just let it be. Swaha. Thank you so very much, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take it away, girl.
Thank you so much. It was interesting because Sandy and I bumped into each other in the ladies' room, and I asked her she told the story, and she said it was death. And I said, oh, great, I have this song. But I think it does actually speak to Sandy's very profound message today, which was extraordinary, Sandy. Thank you so much. There's no one like you. You know, I mean, I've been to so many other churches I've played and worked, and, you know, we have our background together in Los Angeles, and I was a student of the Course in Miracles for years, and so there's no one like you. And I'm very grateful for your message today. This song is called this, and I think this uh, speaks to Sandy's message today. This is called The Buzzard. And how we will have deep lessons in life. We can have deep lessons in life that are very, very painful. But if we stay with it, there will be a great lesson in it for us and a blessing, like your friend who gave you the blessing of rejecting you terribly. And then that blessing that you work through together. And this is about that. The buzzard looks like a kind of an ugly thing and can bring some really weird energy.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
I forgot, the reason I mentioned the man that said it was a death watch, the next week he brought a mascot for our group, and it was a stuffed plush toy vulture.
Ah,
That's how robust our sense of humor was. So when she said she has a story, anyway, I forgot that.
here we go. It's just so weird. Something is in control and it isn't us. Yeah. So this emerged from an experience I had with a narcissist, which was one of the most painful in my life. But it turned into one of the greatest lessons, which was something I needed. As difficult as it was, I needed to get this lesson. So anyway, I think this speaks to your fabulous whatever it was that you just did up there, because it was amazing. The buzzard has a difficult job that nobody else wants to do. He waits by the side of the road for somebody's life to be through. Yet still he's beautiful, beautiful as he flies. But dang, the closer he gets, the harder he is on your eyes. We all know someone like that who's lovely from afar. But then you get to know them a bit and find out just who they are. Ooh, so beautiful, beautiful at the start. But dang, the closer you get, the harder they are on your heart. The buzzard picks that carcass bare right there in the bright light of day, reminding us death follows life and ain't none of us getting away. Yet still he's beautiful way up there in the skies. But dang, the closer he gets, the sooner we know something dies. The false lover has a buzzard's job to pick the bones of your dreams and leaves you a wise, smarter soul who discerns what is real from how it seems. And this is beautiful, for truth alone brings us wings. But dang, the closer you got, the more likely that lesson stings. Well, there you go. Life's a paradox, home to both buzzard and dove. And in the end, it's up to you to live in fear or in love. And this is beautiful, to live and learn and realize that dang, the buzzard you get depends on the set of your eyes.
Wow.
Thank you.
As we acknowledge and receive our virtual and in-person gifts, we give great thanks for the offerings already given and those we will be receiving, because we know that giving and receiving are both part of one flow. We affirm that we are also part of that flow. We bless these gifts and know that they're multiplied throughout our community. We have one more.
Over here.
We receive these with great gratitude. Thank you. And so it is. Thank you. There are a number of folks who have contributed to the production of this service, and we are grateful for their service. We thank you for joining us today in Zoomland and here in the sanctuary. Lastly, stay around in the Zoom meeting after the service to talk or to visit or join us in the social hall. Please stand as you are able and read with me the benediction, followed by our congregational song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world, and so it is.